This is your host and real estate coach, Rafael Cortez. You are listening to the REI Wholesaling Podcast, where every week I bring you the real life case studies and strategies you need to level up your real estate wholesaling business. If you haven't done so yet, go to reiwholesaling.com. Again, that's reiwholesaling.com. Sign up and get free access to your Wholesaling 101 course. This free training teaches you step by step everything you need to close your next wholesale deal and start making big money now. I'm very excited today because we have Dan Brault with us. This guy started wholesaling a few years back, but went in full-time only 7 months ago, and he's done 32 deals from then to now. It's incredible, man. It's good to have you, Dan. Thanks for sitting down with us and sharing your story.
Hey, man. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. So, let's get right into it. You started wholesaling about 4 years ago, but it was kind of yappy in and out. I mean, you were, not really committed to it and went all in seven months ago, which is right around the time when we met. What's your background? How did you get started in it and decided to take the leap full time and tell us about it?
Yeah. So when I started real estate, that was about 5 years ago. And I was working in the medical device sales industry at the time. After a few jobs there, I just knew that I had to find a way to work for myself. Also wasn't loving the options out there for investing in terms of the stock market, 401ks, and just knew there was a better way to do it. Started learning about real estate and decided to do my first flip while I was working full time. Ended up doing all the work myself, which was a huge mistake, but I did learn a lot. Maybe broke even on that one. But after that, learned to never do that again. So ended up getting a crew and got a crew of about 6 guys that were full time for me, with a bunch of other subcontractors. And from there, it just became an obsession. And after about a year of doing that, I decided to go full time real estate. So you started flipping properties. That's what happened at the beginning? Yeah. So I was flipping and acquiring rentals. So some of those we were just holding on to. And after we rented them out and, the BRRRR strategy, ended up using that on a bunch of them.
All right. So you started actually, it's kind of back, and that's the same way that I got started. I did a flip. On the first flip, I broke even. I thought I was going to do better on the second one, and I lost on that one. So I started also just rehabbing properties, but it's normally like the pathway. It's to start with something that's lower, with a lower barrier of entry, which is wholesaling, right? But so you started flipping, and then you even went down the BRRRR method, which is a little more difficult than actual wholesaling.
Yeah.
And then decided to jump all in. What made you do it? Was that working? Was the rehabbing working and all that stuff, or what?
Yeah, it was going really well for a while. And then I started to wholesale a little bit and do marketing direct to seller, because I was buying some properties from wholesalers and saw that the fees that they were making, and I was like, man, I don't want to pay that.
What is this?
So I started to just learn about that, because I was like, man, where are these guys finding these properties? And I would ask them and they wouldn't tell me. And so I started doing the research on my own. I read every book I could find. I, went to YouTube University. I got my real estate license just for the education of it, and just started taking action. And from there, I was still really focused on flipping and getting rentals. At that point, I was maybe doing one wholesale deal every 2 or 3 months. I really wasn't committed to that, because I didn't really like it that much. I didn't really like the process. I always felt a little awkward showing the house to buyers. So I never really jumped all in on that.
So what changed? I mean, it's you, and this is a couple of years back, right? This is not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was 3 and 4 years ago.
3 and 4 years ago, and it was kind of spotty. Yeah. What was the catalyst? What changed? What made you say, you know what, that's it. I'm gonna do it full time. I'm gonna commit to it. I'm gonna take massive action and then just go to town on this thing. This is my track.
Yeah. Massive failure.
Okay. Wow.
Massive failure.
All right.
So as I was, I'm a really ambitious guy. I drive hard. I have low patience. So I like to do a lot of things and move fast. And so I was having a lot of success flipping and acquiring properties that were in that first time home buyer price range. And so those are a lot more simple. There's less to do. The rehabs are shorter, but I wanted to get bigger. I wanted to do more interesting things. So I decided to take on a much bigger project, and I decided to flip a historic property that we decided to turn into a luxury home. And we had to convert it from, it was previously a Masonic temple. And so we gutted the entire thing. And man, I made some major mistakes on that, and learned how much I disliked managing contractors, and how bad I was at it.
Historic properties in them. I mean, just the fact that they're historic and they're that old, they're difficult to work with in the first place, right?
Oh man, I had 6 or 7 months of just meetings with the town boards just to get everything approved. And for anyone out there who's thinking about doing a historic property, think again, unless you're going to estimate your budget is 3 times higher than what you think. Because for example, I had to replace all the windows in the property, and it was either 24 or 28 windows. And we had to put in windows like the original. So we had to do wood with the original glass. Each window cost me $3,000.
Oh, crazy. Yeah, that's the thing with historic properties. There's so much regulation that goes into them. Like you have to, when you flip them, when you fix them, rehab them, they got to look exactly the same way. There's only certain stuff that you can't use. You can't, work around. Your budget usually gets crazy because of that. And yeah, it's insane. And so you're going through this whole process of rehabbing, and you say, you know what, this is not working. Then you have, what was a massive failure? What was it?
That project was the first one. That took up about a year, and it was the most stressful thing because at the end of it, we went so over budget, and it sold for a lot less than we thought it was going to. And I went from thinking I was going to make probably $300,000 on it to losing $150,000 on it.
Wow.
And at the same time, I decided to start a development company, a construction company, where we were going to be building new houses. And I had a partner who was running the crews and the jobs, and he was doing all the bids and everything. He turned out to not be who I thought he was. And he basically ran those jobs and crews into the ground. And that business ran out of money when we were in the middle of building someone's house. And so I had to lay off 6 or 7 guys. I had to surrender all the big machinery that we had. We had 4 big pieces of machinery. There were all these attorney fees and everything. I mean, it was, to say stress is, it's the epitome of stress. I mean, I got an ulcer from it. I was going to the doctors. I couldn't sleep. I mean, we were on the edge of bankruptcy at that point. I had to liquidate my 401k. I went from having 6 figures in my checking account to having pretty much nothing. I had to sell my truck. We were selling stuff out of our house. I mean, it was really, really bad.
You're thinking, okay, this is not working. This is not, obviously the partnership went south. Yeah. Did you pick it up as a backup? I mean, how did you jump into actually, saying that I'm going to go back into real estate, and that's where you got hit. So I'm going to go back in there and then just give it a second round.
Yeah. When all that happened, I said I was done with real estate. I said, you know what, this isn't worth it. I'm not putting my family through this again. I had a wife and a 1-year-old daughter, and just the stress, it just wasn't worth it. And so I went back into the medical device business, and that was going great. But then COVID hit and everything stopped, and I had all this debt, and I couldn't just sit still and do nothing. So I knew that there was a lot of money and opportunity in real estate, and that I still had interest in it. I knew I didn't want to flip anymore. And I knew that wholesaling, there was a lot of opportunity there, but I didn't like the way I had done it before. I never felt comfortable with the process. I never felt like the sellers really had a good experience. And so I knew that I could do it because there were a lot of other people that were doing it really well, but I had to change my approach. And so that's when I decided to get a coach. And with my experience, my personal development background, my sales background, and my drive, with the coaching and tactics and strategies that I learned there, it just took off from that point.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, that, and then you also had some built out experience from previous, deals. So you jump into wholesaling and you say, I'm going to go all out, and you committed to it. And that was what, 7 months ago? Is that
Yeah, pretty much right when COVID hit is
right
when
around
I
March?
started. Yeah.
Right around March. Okay. The So you jump into it, and this is what's so crazy. In 7 months, you've done 32 deals. Most people right now think that the market is shot. There's no opportunity out there. There's no way to make a living. And I keep repeating, like right now, it's one of the best times really to jump into
Oh yeah.
real estate wholesaling specifically, because I mean you can tap into any market. You don't have to put up with any contractors. You don't have to deal with permits or any of that stuff for the most part. And it's something that's you can't scale it if you want to, but you can start it off also by yourself. I mean, you can run a solo operation and then start generating revenue and change your financial situation. It's one of the biggest things that I keep saying and keep repeating. Now you jump into real estate and you're obviously having a lot of success in it. 32 deals in 7 months it's just crazy, so props on that. That's pretty amazing. What's working for you? What would you say right now is working for you, for your company?
Yeah. So right now, over the past 7 months, we've done a bunch of different marketing strategies. And if there's anything that I've learned, it's that you need to be adaptable, because there's things that'll work, and then that marketing method will start to get saturated and it might stop working as well in your market, or you just find something that maybe you like better. And so the marketing that I'm doing now is drastically different than what I was doing even 4 months ago. And so right now, our main source of lead generation is TV. And, 4 months ago, that would have been a tough bullet to bite, because it's not cheap.
Yeah. Well, it's not cheap, and it's also not easy just to start putting yourself out there.
Right.
And say, okay, look at me. I'm the guy that you want to go to for
Yeah.
for your property if you have an issue. So, do you have a main? Do you have something that it's kind of like your mainstay? Are you only doing TV ads right now, or what else are you doing?
No. So, believe it or not, still doing bandit signs. Those work well here.
Yeah.
I have a strategy and a method of training the guys who do that it produces consistent leads. And the deal ratio, the lead to deal ratio on that is really high on bandit signs. You're not going to get as many calls, but the ones that do call are usually going to convert at a pretty high level. So we're doing that. And I'm also doing direct mail. I have a system of sending out real handwritten letters for less than 60 cents a piece. And they get, right now I'm at a 1.96% response rate, which doesn't sound like a lot, but compared to the average direct mail, it's 2 to 3 times the average. And so I'm
absolutely
thrilled with how that's going.
You looking back, like at 2014, 2015, the response rate on direct mail was 11. 2019, it was 0.11. I mean, it's incredible. You're actually doing a couple of things that are somewhat even thought of as being out of date. But that's a magic of marketing. It depends on the area that you're in. Some stuff is going to work well for your market. Some stuff is not. For example, if we go bandit signs in Maricopa County, which is where I'm at, it's litter on the road. I mean, nobody looks at it. You're not going to get seller calls because there's bandit signs everywhere.
Right.
They work really well for buyers though. So that's another strategy that we use bandit signs for. So what market are you in right now?
So I'm in Rochester, New York right now. It's upstate. It's about, I think it's 750,000 people.
And that's the only market you're tapping into?
Right now, yeah. Plans in the next few months to expand to some neighboring cities, but right now, Rochester's given us everything we can handle right now.
Good. All right, so you're tapping into your own backyard. Have you done I mean, 32 deals. Have you done any virtual stuff, or is it just centralized and localized to your thing?
Yeah, we're doing virtual too. Even I've actually really recently taken a liking to that,
Hmm.
because it's just, usually I go to the appointments face to face
Hmm.
95% of the time. But now with TV, sometimes the people, they have a property in another area, or it's a little far out, or maybe it's a borderline deal and I'm just not sure if I want to take the time to drive out there. And so, yeah, we've been doing some virtual deals too. And I know you do that. And honestly, I love the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, yeah, it's you got to have it, especially if you're in a competitive market. If you're sitting in a place where there's more wholesalers around you, or there's a lot of offers being made.
Hmm.
I mean, you just have to reach out and kind of drop satellites in other places.
Yep.
It's again, it's good to have a backbone market, but
Hmm.
I also think that it's good to start looking at different potential areas as well to keep that deal flow high as you get to a point, because then you have staff. If you start hiring, if you start bringing people into your company, you have a responsibility now, right? So
Yep.
there, you've got to find creative ways to get that rolling. And you're right about marketing. Marketing can get saturated um, in your market. So I mean, say that you go to a meetup, right? And then somebody speaks greatly about, you know what, I'm gonna do SMS. Everybody starts doing SMS,
Yeah.
and then it's you just kind of have to think outside the box, and then sometimes even go back to the classics, right? Like
Yeah.
direct mail, and
Yep.
tweak it, make it work. We use direct mail in a very, very specific way. So
Hmm.
what I do is we'll stack the lists,
Nice
and
talking to you.
yeah, and the stock as well. I mean, it's technically what you do with direct mail. So it works, but it's we'll stack the lists, meaning that we'll get a couple of different lists and compile one single list
Yep.
from the people that are in various, like for example, if I have somebody who's in an absentee list, and they're the same person, the same property is also on a vacant list, and that same property and that same person is also on a foreclosure list. I start putting together one single list of that, right? So we have a stacked list on that, and I'll do direct mail because it is pricier. I'll do direct mail to that specific list,
Yep.
and the way that we do it, it's not. We'll send out a postcard on the first
Hmm.
try to kind of screen it because it's cheaper. And
Sure.
then the second one is usually like a little pamphlet, like a little book, physical book. So we actually put a book
Oh.
in the mail and drop that, and then we'll drop a follow-up letter after that. So we time it, but we do
Hmm.
three pieces of direct mail marketing to this one single lead that was
Nice.
obviously niched out, right? It's not direct mail
Hmm.
can get super expensive if you try to hit everybody.
Sure.
So yeah, but awesome, man. I like the way that you're. I mean, you are tapping into TV, which is different. Not a lot of people, like nobody's doing that actually, and not a lot of people or a lot of companies out there are doing that.
Yeah.
What does your operation look like right now? So when we started talking around 7 months ago, it was you coming in, and that was it. I remember.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and
Yeah.
we did some work. We worked together and did a couple of things there, and from that point, what did it look like then, and then what does it look like right now? So I kind of want to fill in the gap
Hmm.
of what happened between those 32 deals in 7 months.
Yeah. So when I started, it was just me. I was doing everything from A to Z. So I was doing all the marketing. I was taking all the calls. I was locking up the contracts, selling the contracts, doing all the
Mhm.
transactions coordination, uh, everything, and and trying to build the business at the same time. But at that point, I mean, I was motivated. I had a whole lot of debt to pay off, and I don't like being in debt. So I want to pay it off as quick as I possibly could. And so over time, I got my first VA, and they started just doing some admin work for me. And after that, I think I got another VA, and I have someone out there posting signs for me. And then I had some VAs doing texting for me. I was doing SMS marketing.
Mhm.
Um, and then through all that, I learned, man, I really don't like managing people that much. um,
Especially finding the right people, right? Sometimes it gets a little tricky. Yeah.
yeah. So, I'm so direct with people. I tend to be very direct, and I'm super driven and I know what I want. And so for me and I'm very impatient. So that makes it difficult for me to manage people. So about a month and a half ago, I hired a COO, and now, so he's obviously still in training on parts of the business, but now he's managing all the team. And so we have our leads manager who's answering the calls, and I'm still assisting with that as well. We have two more leads managers that we're planning on bringing on to replace the one, because he's sort of part-time. And then we're actively recruiting for another acquisitions person as well. And so I'm still running acquisitions because really I'm very good at it. So I have a really
thing.
really high closing ratio. So that's being the closest to the money is the last thing I want to hand off. But I have the goal of by Q2 2021 to be completely out of the day-to-day operations of the business and really transitions from the filling those individual roles to the operator to just the business owner, because I have a lot of other things I want to focus on. So right now I'm really focused on dialing in all our systems, documenting everything, putting together a full training portal, and just making sure we're running a really tight ship.
Nice. I like how you're approaching this thing as a business. So it was a hustle at the beginning, and you were in this. You were literally at the verge of bankruptcy, right? About a year ago, and then you jump into this thing. You started developing and building it up as a business with the mentality of, okay, this is not what I want to do forever. I want to create a platform and then jump out. So it's something that can be turned into a business, which is it's not always hustle, right? It's not the thing that's gonna take away your freedom. On the contrary, it's gonna create revenue and then give you the ability, if you're smart about how you put it all together, to create a legitimate business that can help people. So you started really hiring out for the marketing spot, the lead generation spots first, right? That's like,
so I got my admin first. And then I sort of transitioned them a little bit. So they were doing some of the text message marketing for me while doing some of the admin stuff as well. So yeah.
When you say admin, are you talking about a transaction coordinator or?
Oh no, just so they were handling emails. They were just doing basic clerical work.
Gotcha.
They weren't doing transactions coordination stuff at that point. They were helping organizing my lists and pulling the lists, skip tracing, all that sort of stuff that it's easy to train someone how to do as long as you give them instructions. It's not a really high dollar value task. And so it's okay if I'm giving that to someone else who I'm, a VA is they're not expensive. And so giving that task off freed me up to spend more time on revenue producing activities.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's smart. A lot of the times, if you start putting together a list and you get real granular, I know at the beginning, I lost hours doing that kind of stuff. Then just dissecting it, breaking it down. And at the end of the day, it's, if you spend 4 hours putting together a list, that's 4 hours that you're not closing. It's 4 hours that you're not focusing on your high revenue generating activities, which is, that'll kill your business in no time. So right now, single man operation right now, what does your business look like right now? How many people do you have on board? What a regular day for you? What does that look like?
Yeah. So I hired a outsourced CFO / bookkeeper. So he does all my bookkeeping, and we do our high level financial conversations twice a month. I have my COO. So he's running operations. We have one full-time VA, 4 part-time.
Your COO is your chief operating officer.
Yep.
Right. So he handles the team.
He's managing the team. Okay. He's handling all the operations. So the way I look at it, if you're familiar with Traction, the book by Gino Wickman, so he talks about the visionary integrator. So he's the integrator. I'm the visionary. So I say, hey, here's a million ideas I thought of this week. And we talk about which ones we should do. And then he runs with them and helps to implement those things and keeps all the functions of the business running together and everything going smoothly. And then, like I said, we have that one part-time right now leads manager, and then we're actively recruiting for 2 more. And then at the same time, recruiting for another acquisitions rep to be taking over my role in acquisitions.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And all this has, I mean, you have a systemized approach to the whole thing. Do you have, what does your business model flow look like? How do you break things down now?
So that's one of the things is, we're talking so much about this being a business. And I think that's where a lot of people make a mistake, is that they think you can just hustle and make it work. And that'll work for a little while, but to create a lasting business that you can really scale and grow and have great margins, you need to actually create a business.
Right.
And, that's what's great. What's great about this is that you don't have to have this specialized background in construction or anything like you do if you really want to get really good at flipping, and you don't need a ton of money to start either. That's the thing. The startup costs are low. It's basically marketing and people. And if you're starting with VAs, that can be really affordable. I mean, depending on who you're using, $4 to $10 an hour, no taxes or anything.
Well, that's also a few deals into it, because I mean, you can't start by yourself. I mean, you can wear all the hats, come in and then do the calls. Do the calls, set up the marketing, set up lead generation. 1 deal, 2 deals, 3 deals come in, and then you start plugging people into it, and you start driving yourself away from the taskiness, the heavy stuff that takes a lot of time. 80-20, right? Basic 80-20. The 80% of the activities out there are not going to give you that big result. 20% of the activities that you're going to be doing are going to give you 80% of the results.
Absolutely.
And when you look at it that way, you can start plugging people into it that way, and then just actually start stepping away gradually from the thing. But
you got to save a portion of those initial revenues, because if you go out and you spend them all, you're never going to be able to build a business.
Absolutely.
You have to reinvest a large portion of that in the business, so you can hire, so you can get the right systems, you can get a good CRM and phone system and all that stuff that isn't crucial up front. But if you want to grow and you don't have those systems in place, it's going to be so harder, and it's going to be a lot more work. And so that I can't stress enough is, when you're running, if you want to create a real business, you have to reinvest in the business.
Absolutely. What was the game changer in terms of reinvestment in the business for you?
Man, so
what made it pop? What was the game changer?
Props to you and your operating system for the Pulse Podio. But I mean, going from a version of Podio that I had sort of built out myself, I took some of the apps that other people built and sort of customized it, but it was still a lot of work. It wasn't really smooth. It didn't flow that well, to investing in one that, and it was an investment. It's, if you want it to be a business, it really needs to be an investment. And so I invested in an operating system and CRM that really flows smoothly and freed me up from a lot of the little tasks. It does a lot of things for you. It just automates things. And so for me, that made a big difference. And then, you piece together the phone systems, and you might try out a few different ones, but there's a lot of people that are doing this at a high level, and you can learn what they're doing and what they're using and what's worked for them and what hasn't. And so for me, that's been a huge component of this, going from where a couple of years ago, I didn't like wholesaling. I didn't enjoy the process at all, to now where it's a great experience. I have sellers telling me that I'm their savior and I'm their hero, because they enjoy the process so much, and because I'm really helping them. And it's not awkward anymore. Doing those appointments on the dispo side, they aren't awkward anymore. Everyone's having a fine time with it. No one's uncomfortable. Everyone is very clear about what to do and what to expect. And so for me, just learning from people that had the success that I wanted to achieve and modeling them was one of the best things that I did.
Well, wow, it's you said a lot of things there, and I think they were key. One of them was modeling, and then the other one was clarity.
Yep.
I think a lot of times when we don't, and I'll speak for myself, but a lot of times when I don't like something, when I feel uncomfortable with something, it's not that particular, like it's not that thing that's making me uncomfortable. It's the fact that I don't understand it yet.
Right.
It's not clearly laid out. I have an idea of what it looks like, but I'm not 100% sure. And that I mean, I'll take on that, and people will feel that. For example, if I don't know what the process is, I can't explain it, right?
Sure.
If you're sitting down across or next to a seller, and you're trying to negotiate a property, but you don't know how that negotiation works, you feel uncomfortable, and people feel that, and it's just it transfers over.
Oh yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, it's clarity. You did something very smart, which was cut the learning curve. You picked up things that, okay, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at this, I want to learn more about this, get better at this, and plug this in, and then you started filling in those things. So it kind of became about who instead of how. Okay, who can I go to get better stuff in place, or better systems, or
Absolutely.
cut the learning curve by 3 years and save me hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That's the thing, is that for people, that if you look at any really successful person,
Mm-hmm.
professional athletes, really successful business people, they invest in their careers. They invest in coaches and mentors and programs, and those things are not cheap.
Yeah.
But if you want to be cheap, that's what you're going to get. You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And so you get the education, you get the relationships, and sometimes the relationships are worth everything that you spent on that
Absolutely.
mentorship or that coaching program,
Absolutely.
because you meet those people, and then they introduce you to other people, and you learn from them, and you're learning from everyone. And the circle of people that I associate with now and I talk to on a daily basis are so different than who I associated with 1, 2, 3 years ago. I mean, it's night and day different. And so investing in those relationships, investing in those programs, in training, it's key if you really want to succeed in anything.
Yep, 100%. I agree, man. If I always make an effort to be the dumbest guy in the room. If I'm not in that place, it's I got to do something else. All right, I need to step it up a bit more. And it's not that you're cutting off relationships or anything. It's just self-improvement, right?
Absolutely.
Even and I just mentioned this. I can't remember to who, but we were in a mastermind yesterday, and same people in the mastermind, but you meet up with the same people, and they have the same mentality. They're always growing as well, so they learn things, they bring it back to you, and now you're learning things from the same people, but it's because you're tapping into that space, right? And it's the power of the network. The YouTube University is going to teach you a lot of things. You can piece it together if you want to, but it does not come with the additional benefits of having those connections, those friendships, those people to go to, which is, I mean, it's a game changer really if you're trying to make a difference.
Oh, 100%. And it's another level of accountability, because you have people, if you're talking to them regularly, you're talking about what you're doing. And
Right.
so, YouTube University doesn't have that. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck.
Yeah.
Is they get stuck in education mode, and they don't actually put it into action.
Absolutely.
And if there's anything that I've done over the past year that's really made a huge difference for me, it's, I got all that education and I paid for it, and I did a lot of research and learning, but I took action on those things.
Yeah.
And I took consistent action. And it's about that compound effect of those little daily changes that you're making, finding one little thing that you can improve on every single day, looking at your process, where are the holes, what's falling through the cracks, what's taking longer than it should, what are you not enjoying as much as you could, or what are your sellers or buyers not enjoying as much? Where can you improve your experience for everybody and make a better business? And if you're doing that every single day and every single week, you're going to be so much further than where you thought you could be in a year.
Yeah, but I agree. And it's enjoying the experience as you go through it. It is a hustle. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? It's not, so there's going to be difficulty. There's going to be a lot of work that goes into it. It's not a secret, but I mean, I think the reward or the juice is definitely worth the squeeze, right, on this one. So
100%.
Yeah, no, man, it's amazing. You've done 32 deals over the last 7 months. You were a year ago. You said earlier that you were in the edge of bankruptcy, and you had how much to pay off?
Over $350,000 in debt.
Okay, over $350,000 in debt, and you just made a massive turnaround. Right now, you have deals in the pipeline. You have one massive deal, particularly that I want to tap into. I want to dive into. I just want to see what
Yeah.
your particular process is. But I mean, it sounds like a pretty healthy deal.
Yeah.
First, what's the rundown on the deal?
So this is a single family home. It's a ranch. It's a big ranch. It's like 2,400 square feet in a hot zip code here. And it's been vacant for, I think, 7 years.
What?
Yeah, the guy, it was purchased as a flip.
Uh-huh.
They put $80,000 into it, and they were almost done, and they ran out of money. And instead of selling it in that condition, they just let it sit. And now there's holes in the roof. The basement had 5 feet of water in it. There's mold everywhere. I mean, he just threw away all that investment. I don't know why. People do weird things.
I don't know. Some people have a lot of money. They just
Yeah. And so this was on we used text message marketing to find the guy. We got some contact, but man, it was tough to get a hold of this guy. I mean, there were at least 3 separate occasions where he said he was going to meet me at the property, and he didn't show. And either he wouldn't answer his phone, or he wouldn't reply to text, or he wouldn't answer emails. And then he would get back to me a week later and have some excuse. And so it was probably 3 or 4 months of me just following up with him, because I knew there was opportunity there. And finally got him to commit to a time. And, I was polite about it. Sure, I was super annoyed that I had showed up there 3 times and he didn't show.
yeah.
But, in the end, I got the deal. I was able to take him through my sales process, use the same script and sales process that I always use, and got that pain out of him, went straight into price, got the agreement from there, got the agreement right then and there. That's what I do every single time. And so that deal, in the end, that's going to be a $50,000 wholesale deal.
Wow. So you had to follow up of 4 months to try to get this guy through the door, and you were seeing all the red flags, right? So the property's vacant, the property's run down, it's in a hot spot. So he knows he's got something in his hands. You just can't get a hold of the seller to save your life.
Yeah.
So 4 months of follow up go by. About how many times do you think you reached out to the seller?
At least in the beginning, probably 3 times a week. And then I sort of taper down as we go on. But I was calling him from different phone numbers.
Doing the stealth thing. Yeah.
I was texting him from different numbers. I would call, he wouldn't answer, hang up. I would call right back again to see if he would pick up. I was trying everything.
Yeah.
But
that's what it takes. That's what it takes. That's really what it takes.
I mean, having the follow-up is key, because there'll be a lot of people that the timing just isn't right. And timing is everything.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're a day late, you can miss out on a great deal because someone else got there first. Because trust me, you're not the only one trying to get that deal.
Oh, they're getting bombarded with calls, with, even letters still. I mean, a lot of people still do direct mail, but letters, phone calls, text messages, voicemail drops. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going out there, and they're getting bombarded. They know what's happening. They know that they can't just raise their hand and 50 people are going to run to them with an offer. So you just have to be top of mind somehow, some way. It's not, you're not going to lose. Let me rephrase. You're going to lose a lot less deals because you're following up too much.
Absolutely.
Than if you don't follow up at all. I mean, that's a key. It's simple. It's staying on top of if you have something, if the red flags are there, you already qualified that lead, and it's now a prospect, and it's somebody that you can close. Stay on it. Do not be you can't be shy about calling. You can't be shy about reaching out.
Right. That's the thing. Yeah. You got to get on the phone.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can't even count, hundreds, probably close to 1,000 different sellers that I've spoken to, and that initial conversation. And I've gone through my script so many times. I mean, I know it so well that when I was training one of my people yesterday, they asked me how many times I had gone through that. Because right now, for me, it's so fluid. The tonality that is so important to the script that we use, and all those little nuances. He was asking, how long did it take you or how did you feel when you first started this? It's probably the same as you, because it's awkward at first.
Absolutely.
And it takes a lot of practice.
Yep.
I mean, I reworked my script so many times. I wrote it out by hand so many times to commit it to memory. I was doing, on the side, just role plays with another buddy of mine 2 to 3 times a week, just so I could get it down. So yeah, I mean, anyone who's starting off, or maybe you're doing 1 to 2 deals a month, or maybe not even quite that much, like, yeah, it's going to take a lot of work, but this is a business that you can really scale up, create a solid, strong business with great margins, and really systematize it to the point where you can get people running it for you and helping you out to whatever degree you want. There's a lot of people that they want to still maintain some role in the day-to-day operations, and that's great. The point is that you can pick and choose what you want to do once you have those systems in place, and once you put in the time, because it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of work, but it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, I think that one thing that happens too is that there's people try to delegate too soon before everything's kind of settled in and everything, dialed in to their operation, to the way they do business, or they work on it. I mean, sometimes they just want to hand it over too soon, and that's really
Right.
It can be, if you don't take the time to hand it over the right way, it can be a problem. So, man,
I made that mistake.
Yeah. So you got a hold of the seller, finally went through it. What was the situation? I mean, he's sitting there with a vacant property. He's dropped $80,000 into a rehab, aside from whatever he bought it for. And this guy was not making any sense at all. He was giving you the runaround. However, you sat with the guy, you went through your process, and then you closed it right there. I'm assuming that you had to do a deep conversation to figure out what the real problem with him was, right?
Honestly, I still don't have a good reason as to why he didn't just sell it. I don't know if he just was the most hopeful guy in the world and just eventually hoping that they would get the money to fix it. And I could understand that for maybe 6 months or a year, like, oh, we can find another way to make that money back and then start this property again. But 7 years?
Yeah, I mean, that's were they in financial distress? Were they or?
So this was his. So it was an older gentleman. He had wanted to do flipping as basically his retirement, and so I'm not going to say he was in huge financial distress, but he at least wanted to get something out. He certainly, there was pain about the project.
Gotcha.
And so I was able to leverage that because at that point he was still paying taxes on it. He had put all that money into it, and he just wanted to get something out, and he just wanted to move on. And so I was able to work on those pain points and help him to move on and show him, bring out the pain and motivation that he had, and also couple that with, hey, if we work together, this process is going to be so smooth. Here's what we do. Here's how we do it. And we can solve all those problems and finally let you move on. Because that was what he was really looking for. It was
moving
just
on.
This thing weighing over him. It's been there for 7 years. It was this big failure that he had never really let go.
Man, that's incredible. It's so I'm looking at this deal, and the property's been there for a long time. The guy dropped money into it, obviously, and all that stuff. So those are red flags that tell me that it may not be a financial situation. So it's not the conversation that usually happens, especially for people just getting into wholesaling. It's numbers.
Right.
It's the price point. They want, how can I compete with the price? But it's not always about the price. So
Right.
if you have a property that's been there for years, the guy dropped money into it and it's still sitting there, but still there for years. I mean, because somebody who loses on a property, they can come in and then take a loss and get out of it, right? Relatively quickly, or foreclose or do something. So there's obviously something going on. Taxes are being paid because it's not being, taken back. So those red flags tell me that the conversation has to be a little different than just price points. And I think that's where the magic of really sitting down with your sellers and having that complete flow of the discovery process, and having that solid conversation with them. I think that's where the magic happens, is looking for those little red flags and then seeing how you can elaborate on the problem and really just clarify everything so you can come in and solve it. Otherwise, if you don't know what the problem is, you're not going to be able to solve it. And it's not always money. Simple as
100%. I think that's a mistake that I know I used to make. And I know that a lot of newer wholesalers and investors tend to make, is they focus on the dollars.
Right.
And at that point, you're having an intellectual conversation. And that is not what motivates people to sell their property.
Yeah.
What motivates them is solving their problems. It's solving their pains. And so you need to get in and find what their hot button issue is. What's their motivation? What's the pain behind it? What are their personal feelings behind it? And that's where you can get the price drops.
Yeah.
Because you go through all that, you spend most of your time there and building rapport and getting those pain points. And then the price conversation is quick.
Well, it is. And it really becomes a value add, because you're adding value on your end through the solution, and they're adding value on their end through the equity, right? So that's really kind of where it happens. I get asked all the time, why would people sell for 70%, for 60% of the property value? It's not about the price. Sometimes, there's a million things that can be happening, at any point in time. You just got to be there, top of mind, whenever that happens, and then come in and solve it. So get creative. I love it, man. I love it. So what did the numbers look like on this? What was the ARV of the property?
That one is about $240,000.
$240,000. Okay.
40. Yeah. It's going to need about $100,000 in work.
Okay. What was it locked for?
I got it for $50,000.
For $50,000, you got a property for $50,000. This guy dropped $80,000 a while back into it, and whatever else he bought it for. So I
think he bought it for 70.
Yeah. Wow.
He bought it for 70, put another 80 into it.
So he took a $70,000 haircut on it, and all he wanted was to just move on. It became wow. Okay.
Move on. It wasn't about the money anymore.
Yeah. So okay, those are crazy good numbers for for a deal in New York. So you locked it for $50K. And what's the you're selling? What's the dispo process? How are you selling are you selling the contract? Are you taking it down?
So this one I am double closing.
Okay.
I'm double closing this one. So generally, if my fee is more than $20,000, then I'll do a double closing. If it's less, then I'll just do a straight assignment of contract.
Okay.
So on this one, I'm doing a double closing because it's a big fee. So we're able to do simultaneous closing. So it's same day. So I don't even have to put any money down. So I sign my papers and my buyer signs his 30 seconds after me.
Gotcha.
And since the funds only need to be there that day, my buyer brings the funds to closing. We use his funds. Part of that goes to the seller. Part of it goes to me. I walk away and we're done. So
awesome. It's double closings are a great strategy as well. So double closings, for those who are newer to wholesaling, it's when you're actually taking the property down, meaning that you're buying it. It's going under your name for a very brief period of time. And then you are selling it right away to the end buyer. So it's you close two times, so you double close on the same day. So you take it from your seller, and then your buyer takes it from you. But there's a legal transfer taking place in those transactions. So no, thank you for sharing that and really breaking it down for us, giving us that picture of how you've gone through things from even a year ago and then started crushing it 7 months ago to 32 deals now. It's insane. What are the top 3 things that new wholesalers or aspiring wholesalers need to be focusing on?
One, I would say taking consistent action and not getting stuck in education mode. Yes, you want to continually educate yourself, but you need to put that into action.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
I would say another one is you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Learn from people who are doing it successfully. model the behaviors, the mentality, the mindset, the body language, the physiology of those that you want to be like. What are these people doing? You can do that too. You might not be where they are now, but you can get there by modeling the behaviors that they do. And
love it.
The third thing I would say is make sure you're actually creating a business. And that goes down to constant improvement and systematizing. So you can't hire people if you don't have systems in place. You can't give someone a training manual or instructions on how to do a job if you don't have that stuff documented. Because then if you do that, if you hire someone and you don't have those systems in place or your training documented, they're going to be coming to you every 5 minutes with questions about how to do something. And you're not going to be saving yourself any time. You're just going to say, I might as well just do it myself.
Yeah, you can scale systems or you can scale chaos, right? One of the two.
Right. So doing those things, really treating it like a business, modeling the behavior of others, and just constantly taking action to get a little bit closer each and every day.
I love it. What are your top revenue generating activities?
So right now I'm focused on really, I believe that systematizing and putting together all of our process is revenue generating, because what happens when I'm doing that is I'm evaluating all of our systems, seeing what's working really well, where we can improve things. And as I'm documenting, I'm having to think about it. And the end result of all that is that now I have a training manual. I have our standard operating procedures that I can give to our team. And that's going to save me a whole lot of time because they're not going to be coming to me with all these questions. I can have them set up with this training course, and it's going to improve our quality because they're going to be doing things the way that we've set as our standard. And so you don't have to worry about all these quality control issues. As long as you're checking in on them, making sure they're doing things correctly in the way that you asked, then you're going to have a much better business. And so I'm working on creating that franchise model. You look at a Starbucks, you get pretty much the same experience no matter which one you go in. That's because they have their processes, they have their training manuals that every franchisee and everyone that's working there goes through. And so for me, that's a big part of it. Sales training my team, because as we get better at sales, the whole process, we're going to close more deals, we're going to get better prices, and we're going to sell more of them. And then also going on appointments. For me, that's number one. That's what closes the deals. So I'm still going on appointments, whether that's in person or doing closings over the phone. So those are the three things that I'm most focused on right now.
Beautiful. Yeah. Focusing on revenue generating activities. I know the tendencies to lose a lot of time on especially starting off, right? Tendencies to lose a lot of time on, okay, I'm going to focus on the logo. I'm going to focus on the website. I'm going to focus on what it's going to look here, what it's going to look there, but it's actually taking action, finding a way to set things up quick and then just take progressive action. You're not going to know everything coming into it. So yeah, as long as you have a backbone, somewhere that you can go back to cut that learning curve, you're going to be fine. It's all about, taking that action, then focusing on the stuff that actually is going to put money on the table.
Oh, 100%. It's so easy to get distracted by a million different things, but yeah, you got to look at your day. You got to make sure that you have scheduled blocks of revenue producing activities. This next decision I'm going to make, is that actually going to improve my revenues? Is that going to improve my bottom line? Yeah. Because if not, it might not be worth it right now. There's the perfect logo or the perfect website. Like, is that really going to make that much of a difference?
Yep.
I don't know. Probably not right now. There's a point where it's good enough, and then you can improve it over time. If you wait till everything's perfect and everything, you're never going to start. And that's where people get stuck. They get stuck in analysis paralysis. They're thinking about too many different things and they never start anything. Or they're waiting till they're perfectly ready. And man, you're never going to be ready.
There's no such thing.
You just got to jump in at some point. You're always going to be uncomfortable when you're starting something new. Get used to it. Because if you want to get anywhere substantial, if you want to achieve anything substantial, you're going to be uncomfortable pretty much the whole time.
Absolutely. Especially if you want to get those $50,000 deals coming in at you. So no, I completely agree. I have this thing, and every time we have our meetings and I emphasize this to my whole team. We pick a top three. What are our top three priorities? And anything that we do throughout the day has to be pointing out to one of those top three, right? And everybody has their own top three things, but it's a way to keep driving in the same direction without getting sidetracked by all the shiny objects. So what book are you reading right now that you think somebody needs to go through?
Oh man, that's tough. I inhale books.
Yeah.
I got a few hundred right here. So right now I'm reading a book on copywriting. I think it's the 16-word sales letter or something like that. It's for just writing ad copy. But some of the recent ones, The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. Oh, that's a good book. It's phenomenal. Read that recently. The Ultimate Blueprint for an Insanely Successful Business by Keith J. Cunningham is also really good. That's more on the financial side of things and looking at how you're analyzing and making financial decisions in your business, but also super important. And then for just a general business book, Traction is huge, or really any of the books in that series, Rocket Fuel, Get a Grip, any of those, but Traction is a little more robust. And so that one, it really breaks down for people. What are the different meetings you need to be having on a regular basis? How do you run those? What are the different roles you need to have in your business, the different functions? What is each person doing? How are you even deciding those different things? What's your organization chart and your accountability chart look like? And just really how to run a business. And for people that are looking to really scale and create some consistency in their business, that is key. Learning how to structure things, because not everyone knows how to do that right off the bat. Not everyone went to business school. Most wholesalers probably didn't. But you can learn all that stuff. And so that book, I know, most wholesalers or real estate investors that I talk to have read that book. And a lot of them use that system to run their business. So I would highly recommend that one too.
Yeah, it's a great cornerstone book. Awesome, Dan. Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you sharing your journey with us and really breaking it down. So there you guys have it. Massive action. If you want to get those $50,000 deals coming through the door, it's doable. And this guy's done 32 deals in the last 7 months, which I still think it's insane. Fam, thank you for listening. Every week I bring you the real, the raw, the mindset, the case studies, and the strategies you need to build your own successful real estate wholesaling business. So if you haven't done so yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button and don't miss out on real life experience and information that can make you millions. It's time to join the ranks of successful wholesalers and real estate entrepreneurs like the one you just heard, and take advantage of one of the biggest opportunities that we have in our lifetime to generate wealth. So go to reiwholesaling.com. Head over to my website, again, that's reiwholesaling.com, and learn how to make big profits, make big money by finding, negotiating, and closing wholesale deals from your own backyard. You've heard the stories, seen the case studies. Stop thinking about it. It's time to write your own. Again, head over to reiwholesaling.com, click on coaching program, book a discovery call, have a conversation with my team, and you might get an invitation to join hundreds of students throughout the country who are leveling up on a daily basis. The writing is on the wall. Hustle is a season. It's not a business strategy. Take action, start building a sustainable and scalable real estate wholesaling business, and join the coaching program today. I will catch you guys on the next one. Talk to you soon. Stay focused. You got this.